Get mantra and meditation MP3s at JasonJGallant.ca.
Today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about trying to be something. Because so much of your life is about you being something. You know, we call it branding, or we call it, I guess branding, would be a good word for it. Basically, you need to brand yourself in the world so people know who you are as far as what you do. But it's a very superficial aspect of you. It's a very condensed, simplified version of you. And it really has everything to do with the ego and the identity. Now, when it comes down to maybe having a business or providing a service or something like that in the world, it's okay to have that type of branding. It's okay to say, okay, this is what I want to do and this is the service I want to provide to the world, so this is what I want people to see as the first thing they see in me, so that way I could integrate in this thing called society. Right? You basically become something to other people, and then from there maybe they can get to know deeper echelons of you or deeper depths of you, but it isn't who you are. So how this pertains to suffering is that people take this thing called identity and ego and branding and how you survive as far as survival with the physical body, and they take that identification and then they start to believe it and say, that is all that I am. They start to say, oh, I'm a doctor, or I'm a person that owns a business of some sort, or I am an athlete, or I'm a musician, or whatever it is, and they say, that is who I am. But the truth is, that's not who you are. And by holding on to that thought internally and saying, this is all that I am, that will cause you suffering because it's limited. Now again, this can be one thing that you do. This could be one thing that you have fun with. This part of your identification can be there. There's nothing wrong with that. But know that that is a role that you're playing or something that you're doing. It's a form of play, but it isn't the totality of you. It's not what you rest back into. So no matter what you're doing externally, no matter what you're doing in your life to survive, you're still remembering that you are beyond that you are beyond what you know. You are beyond what you've experienced so far. You are something other than what the mind can understand and see. So this brings freedom. And somebody just honked as I go by on the logging road. I guess they know too, it brings freedom. Right on, Jason. I think somebody's coming down the trail. That's the fun part about making these videos. Sometimes you do satsang, and satsang means gathering in truth, and then you start to gather people. They start to follow me around and gather around the video camera as I'm doing these things. So, that said, as you are playing the game of life, you are taking time to remember and to let go of the limitations of that game. How's it going? Sorry for the interruption. Like I said, satsang is about gathering. That's the definition. So people sometimes gather. Sometimes I'm sitting here and then, hey, they come on board. So as I was saying, you are beyond the mind. You are this regardless of whether you can think about it or not. And what you do in your day-to-day life changes. So if who you truly are is unchanging, the foundation of who you are, the large that of the universe that you fall back into, anything that has to do with moving outwards will be tainted with the mind. It will be tainted with this reality, which is a beautiful existence, but who you are and your ability to experience this reality much more deeply has to do with letting go of the previous veils and barriers of the mind. So it's not like you avoid this reality. You still play in it, but your roles are more malleable. You're not stuck in one role. And that's where people get lost. They get stuck in playing one character and believing that they are the character instead of the one who's playing the character. Now, why does this matter? You know, people are like, oh, so what? Like, oh, whatever. I think I'm this person that did this and did that, and I'm this person that's going to do this tomorrow. And well, the reason why this is not the highest state you can achieve is because it is conditional. And through your spiritual work, you are trying to find your way into a deeper state of unconditionality, of unconditional bliss, of unconditional happiness and fulfillment that stems from a deep experience within. And you're not carrying any baggage. You're not carrying the baggage of the mind. You're not carrying the veils, the preconceived notions, the points of view that cause you suffering. It's amazing, like when you look and you'll look at all your different points of view, and then the stubbornness behind why you want to keep certain points of view which are just causing you suffering. It's amazing, isn't it? I mean, that was a very profound thing for me when I first started on the spiritual path. I realized, wow, why am I hanging on to this opinion or this point of view when all it's doing is making me miserable in this moment? So if something is not allowing you to experience your fulfillment in this moment, it cannot be the truth. And I'm talking about within. Fulfillment can still exist even though externally, in the physical body and stuff, there's pain or there's just the trials and tribulations of survival. That can exist at the same time as the fulfillment within existing. And when you always return back to this, which is why a daily meditation practice is so important, is that when you return back to this, you remember the important stuff. You remember what's truly important. You have your priorities straight. You're not falsely attaching your happiness to some external condition, which will change anyway. What you were happy with when you were 6 was totally different than when you were 10. And then when you're 12, and then when you're 15, there'd be all these different factors that would change along the way. So why not let go of those limitations and those limiting beliefs now? Those stipulations you've put on your happiness, you don't have to hold on to them. So many people think survival and surviving better means that you're happier. And yes, there's a baseline. You need to survive because that's kind of the deal. We show up here and we have to survive. But when survival is met, that doesn't necessarily mean happiness is an automatic. Right? A lot of people think, oh, I'm surviving, so I'm automatically happy. But a lot of people start to survive, and some of them survive very well. But the happiness and fulfillment's not there. And why is that? It's because of a false identification. They're identifying with their thinking. They're stuck in there and they've forgotten how to be vulnerable again. Trauma and pain keeps people from being vulnerable. They start to close up. They start to come up with reasons and ways to distract themselves from the incredible pain of life. But if you can open to it anyway and be here anyway, you'll see that everything is temporary. Even your life. That is the eventual truth that you'll realize. No matter what type of pain you experience, no matter what you experience, it is all temporary. The only thing that is permanent is the deepest one before the concept of I. What remains when there's not a thought to be had. That's the backdrop by which everything happens. That backdrop is always there. So you fall back into the backdrop. And then you come out again and you do things and you take things very seriously and you suffer and you play and you're fierce about this, fierce about, and then fall back to the backdrop again. Just keep continuing to do this. It's a yang and then a yin and then a yang and a yin, right? Shiva and Shakti, I guess you could say. Or maybe more a Brahma aspect of Narayana. So don't try to be something so much. Don't try to take what you're doing quite so seriously, because that locks you into one way of experiencing something. It locks you into one point of view. If you're trying to be something, make it an external thing, but internally, don't contort yourself in saying that is who I am, truly. Remember, it's just a game. You're being something for a moment, you're doing something for a moment, you're accomplishing for a moment, but then you're returning back to the place free of all those conditions and free of all those rules and games and desires and fears. You're falling away from that again. So I hope this helps you on your spiritual journey. Take care for now.